Susans.
And I'm Julie Goodman.
Tonight we have 4 interesting topics that will help you in your everyday life.
At 10 o'clock, dosing errors in the pharmaceutical industry, followed by airbag chemistry.
And then, dangers of chemicals in food wrappers, followed by sulfates, a food additive.
Stick around.
Hi, I'm Christina Lenark, and welcome to BC News. I'm here to report to you about dosing errors in the pharmaceutical industry. The amount of dosing errors in pediatric patients in Canada is at a very high 50%, whereas in the United States it's at about 47%, and in the UK it's 14.8%. Possible solutions to this problem could be electronic prescribing systems. These could help doctors because they would not need to do a majority of the math. Another possible solution to lowering dosing errors in pediatric patients would be to use a weight-based dosing system rather than an age-based dosing system. Not only pediatric doctors make these mistakes. All kinds of doctors make mistakes when using abbreviations, symbols, and dosing designations. Patients also have a huge role in making sure that they're taking the proper dose, as well as following any warning labels that are on. For example, do not drink alcoholic beverages. Some medications really slow down your heart rate. So does alcohol, and this could be very dangerous and it can actually lead to cardiac arrest. Nowadays, there are far too many prescriptions and way too few pharmacists. They emphasize more on the speed rather than the efficiency. Prescription drugs taken as prescribed in hospitals are the 4th leading cause of death in the United States and Canada per year, right after cancer, heart disease, and strokes. These cause about 10,000 deaths a year in Canada and about 106,000 deaths a year and over 2 million serious injuries in the United States. 70% of these injuries are preventable. Quantitative factors like the mass of a person is usually what determines the dose. But qualitative factors such as lifestyle and medical history are also very important in determining the doses. That is why some people can have completely different effects from using the same medication. Hi, I'm here with Sonia Brown, here to explain her story about lithium and dehydration. Sonia?
Hello. So I had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and they prescribed lithium for me. And while I was on lithium, I had been taking proper dosages for a while and everything was going smoothly. But suddenly I began to become very dizzy and I actually ended up having a seizure. I was rushed to the hospital and I didn't know why. Later that evening, the doctors told me it was because I had gone on a jog that morning and I wasn't properly hydrated.
Wow, that's terrible. You should have been properly informed on that. Thank you, Sonia, for sharing that very personal story with us today.
My pleasure.
Lithium overdose can cause things like comas, hand tremors, seizures, muscle twitches, slurred speech, and uncontrollable eye movements. A qualitative factor like dehydration can severely affect these things.
Thank you, Christina. Now to Jill Simmons, who's on scene at a car accident.
Hello, this is Jill Susans reporting live. As you can see, there's a deadly collision. A drunk driver ran through a red and hit a victim. Sadly, the drunk driver died, but miraculously, the victim survived. We're now here with the victim. Hello, Tammy. Can you please explain what happened during the car crash?
Well, I was coming home from work and this guy was running a red light, heading straight towards my car. He crashed right into me.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay.
Now looking at you, you only seem to have minor cuts and bruises from the crash.
Yeah, well, thankfully the airbag deployed at the perfect time and saved my life.
Thank God for airbags. Now let's hear what Professor Nolasco from the University of Toronto has to say about how airbags actually work.
It's good to be here, Jill. Today I'm going to explain how airbags actually work and how it actually saved this woman's life. Now, it is important to remember that timing is the most important factor in an airbag's ability to quickly deploy itself to save a person's life in a head-on collision. If the airbag doesn't deploy itself at the right time, it could potentially kill someone if it is too early or if it's too late. Airbag simulations prove that if the airbag deploys too early, it can force the driver's head back very hard, breaking their neck. And if the bag deflates too late, it won't give any protection at all.
Almost every car is equipped with an electrical and crash sensor. The airbag is linked to this electrical sensor and a tiny computer. This crash sensor is basically a steel tube with a metal ball inside. As the car drives around, the ball moves around the tube as well. But when the car decelerates very quickly, as in a head-on collision, the ball hits the end of the tube very hard to trigger the electrical current to reach the airbag. The electrical current reaches these white crystals, which is sodium azide, and ignites it by an electrical impulse to cause a nitrogen gas to fill the airbag.
Now I'll explain the chemical reaction inside the actual airbag. Inside the airbag is a gas generator containing a mixture of sodium azide, NaN3, potassium nitrate, KNO3, and silicon dioxide, SiO2. When the steel ball triggers the electrical current, the electrical impulse from the crash sensor ignites a sodium azide to produce the nitrogen gas that fills the nylon or polyamide airbag. There are three reactions that occur to make this happen. First, the sodium reacts with the potassium nitrate to produce potassium oxide, sodium oxide, and additional nitrogen gas. The nitrogen gas generated in this second reaction fills the airbag, and the metal oxides react with silicon dioxide. Lastly, to produce silicate glass, which is harmless and stable. This reaction occurs right at the point of impact, and the airbag is deployed within milliseconds to help save lives. I don't know about you, but I would rather end up with a few bruises from an airbag than life-threatening injuries from an actual car accident. And that is basically how airbag chemistry works.
Thank you, Professor Nolasco, for that excellent explanation on how airbags actually work. Now remember to always wear your seatbelt and get your car checked regularly so you can assure your airbags work in a case of an emergency.
No problem, Jill. It was my pleasure.
Well, there you have it, chemistry reactions that could actually save lives. This is Jill Susans reporting on airbags. Have a great weekend.
Whoa, I better get my airbags checked. All right, and now to Jill Susans on the dangers of food wrappers.
It's not only greasy cheeseburgers at fast food restaurants that are harmful to your health, but also the wrappers it comes in. Oily foods such as fast food and microwave popcorn are regularly packaged in paper or cardboard. These wrappers must be grease and waterproof so no oil can leak out. The reason the oil from the fast food does not leak out of the wrapping is because it is coated with polyfluoroalkyl phosphate esters, otherwise known as PAPs. For some of you who are not aware of what PAPs are, they are byproducts of perfluorinated carbonic acids, PFCAs, which include PFOAs, which are commonly used to coat different types of food wrappers. This is an issue of particular concern because we now know that the body can metabolize PAPs into highly toxic chemicals called PFCAs. The most infamous PFCA is known as C8, which is an active ingredient in Teflon. Teflon is a material that is used to make your non-stick pans. So imagine this pan in this wrapper, which goes into this mouth and goes into the bloodstream. Now live to Julie Goodman.
Hi, this is Julie Goodman reporting just outside of McDonald's on Dundas Road. I'm about to approach a young lady who appears to be pregnant. Excuse me, miss. I can see that you're pregnant. Now you probably know that the McDonald's you're eating is really bad for your baby. But did you know that the wrapper it's in is could be even worse?
No, I didn't know that, but I'm not pregnant.
Back to you, Jill!
Thank you, Julie. Now, Teflon is an active ingredient of PFOA. PFOA accumulates in the umbilical cords of babies and is affecting the growth and brain development. According to 2 new studies published in Environmental Health Perspectives, babies whose umbilical cords have higher concentrations of PFOA were born lighter, thinner, and with smaller head circumferences than other babies. You may not realize it, but you and your family are continuously exposed to harmful class of chemicals called perfluoroalkyls, which include PFOA. Common everyday sources of exposure include drinking water bottles, stain-proof clothing, carpet and fabric protectors, fast food wrappers, and microwave popcorn. Clearly, if you're eating fast food, PAPs from the wrappers may be the least of your problems. But it's still important to realize that you're not getting the proper nutrients from the food itself, and the wrappers may also be contaminating your body with toxins. Most important of all is to ditch your non-stick cookware because they are a major source of PFOA. The moment you heat them, they start to create fluoride vapors, which are so toxic they can kill small birds. Now to an exclusive interview with Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Joining me to discuss these issues and the effects of PAPs in your bloodstream is Dr. Doofenshmirtz, a chemist of the University of Hogwarts. Welcome, Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Hello, it is good to be here.
Glad you can join us. Now, is the problem with PAPs that they mimic and interrupt hormonal activity?
Not exactly. It's not entirely clear, which I think is part of the problem. These chemicals, PAP, are labeled likely human carcinogens.
And what exactly does carcinogens mean?
Carcinogens are anything having potential to cause cancer.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yes, that is why they are labeled likely human carcinogens, because there are some clear carcinogenic effects in animals. But we are not clear how relevant it is to humans. We believe that the level of toxins in humans are not carcinogenic. We do not know when they will get to that stage, but we will control it as soon as possible.
I heard that these chemicals have caused tumors in animals. Is this true?
Yes, that is true, but the level of PAPs given to the rats were much higher than the intake of humans. I cannot say that the level of human intake will or will not cause tumors, but we can definitely say if the intake becomes higher, it will definitely cause tumors in humans.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, for being here with us.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure. So keep in mind that avoiding these products is especially crucial for pregnant women or couples who are trying to have children, since it can have a serious impact on your fertility. It not only affects the baby, but yourself, so be aware of what your food is really wrapped in. Now, to Julie Goodman to teach us about sulfates, preservatives in our foods.
Thank you, Jill. Sulfites are a huge problem in today's society. They are sulfur-based preservatives that are used for many things, including discoloration of light-colored fruits and vegetables, and preventing unwanted bacteria from spoiling wine. They also naturally occur in many foods. The big problem is that many people are sensitive to sulfites. The FDA estimates that 1% of people are sulfite sensitive, and 5% of those also have asthma. It appears that sulfite sensitivity may be caused by a deficiency of the enzyme sulfite oxidase. This enzyme basically breaks down sulfites and requires molybdenum as a cofactor, which is a substance that acts with another substance to bring out certain effects. The most common reaction to sulfites is something like an asthma attack. People also experience hives or other allergy-like symptoms. In rare cases, a reaction can be life-threatening. Sulfites have been linked to chronic fatigue syndrome, allergies, asthma, bedwetting, bloating, brain fog, candida and other fungal infections, diabetes, depression, and many more. Unfortunately, sulfites are used in many packaged and processed foods such as gelatins, gravy mixes, baked goods, jams, jellies, fruit toppings, pickles and relish, and dried potatoes, dried fruits, and some processed shrimp. Packaged fruit juices, maple syrup, beers, and all wines also contain sulfites. Packaged foods are tricky because even if sulfites weren't added to the product itself, ingredient ingredients containing sulfites could still have been used in the manufacturing process. To a large extent, our food is no longer food, but a mixture of chemicals prepared in a laboratory instead of a kitchen. While trying to avoid sulfites, look out for these 6 names: sulfur dioxide, sodium sulfite, sodium bisulfite, potassium bisulfite, sodium metabisulfite, and potassium metabisulfite. Sulfites, bisulfites, and metabisulfites are all dry chemical forms of the gas sulfur dioxide. For those of you trying to stay away from sulfites, it may be a bit difficult because the sad thing is that there are loopholes in the laws that allow sulfites and other chemicals to be put into our foods without the manufacturers actually having to label them as such. There is a 5% rule that applies to any food additive under a technical functional ruling. When sulfites are used as a preserving agent, if the makeup of the end product does not exceed 5% of the preserving function of the sulfites, it doesn't need to be labeled. And now to Jill Susans, with her interview with author, researcher, and certified natural therapist Paul Barat-Hassett and his story on how he overcomes sulfites.
Welcome, Paul.
Hi Jill, thanks for having me.
Let's get right to it. Tell me, what exactly are sulfates?
Well, sulfates are used to make food last longer and look fresher. However, they can be extremely harmful. Sulfites and other food additives are everywhere, hidden and undeclared. I firmly believe that sulfites have created a global pandemic.
Explain on what you mean by global pandemic.
Sulfites in food additives are causing horrible symptoms, syndromes, illnesses, and even some deaths. People from all over the world are being affected.
Wow. So Paul, tell us your story.
Well, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 1990. It basically is a pain in the muscles and the surrounding structures. It comes along with severe fatigue and exhaustion. My research has led me to find that sulfites are everywhere, altering our food. So I completely removed them from my diet. After cutting out sulfites, my symptoms disappeared overnight. I also lost over 44 pounds of excess body fat, and now I have a lot more energy.
That is truly remarkable, Paul.
It really is, Jill. I've had a total health transformation. One of the smartest things you can do for your health is removing as many sulfites as possible as you can from your diet.
Wow, thank you so much, Paul.
No problem. Wow, that is an amazing story. You can read all about Paul Barat-Hassett's journey in his book, The Sulfite Connection, available in the chapters near you. Now, we'll be right back after this short break.
Get the new whey protein. Helps boost energy and immune system and increases lean muscle. Use it after you work out.